Okay, so admittedly, I haven't managed to get my hands on the new Beatles 1964 mono Capital box set as of yet. And in fact, I'm still weighing up whether or not I'm going to. But this video today is just a quick one to show what I have managed to get my hands on thus far. As always, if you like this video, then please press on the like button or alternatively subscribe to my channel, as that would be much appreciated. So obviously yesterday, November the 22nd, we as Beatle fans were treated to a brand new box set as well as 6 individual releases. And of those individual releases, I managed to pick up the very first, and that was Meet the Beatles. Meet the Beatles, there's the front cover, and there's the back cover for you. Now, HMV in this country were doing an exclusive blue vinyl to kind of celebrate this release, and that's what I managed to pick up here. In fact, I had always planned to buy this release separately as well as the box set. So this is obviously the only one I can talk about today thus far. So I can tell you a little bit about my experience with this record. Now, I've been a huge Beatle fan my entire life, but I admittedly have never ever listened to this album in its entirety. So this was new to me. And like I just said, what we get when we purchase this was actually £39.99 for me. What you get is you get the album in a replica sleeve, which is lovely, really good quality card. Alongside that, you get some mastering notes. It comes on this little 4-page booklet. A replica copy of the original inner sleeve, as you can see there. And the vinyl itself in a poly-lined inner. As you can see, I've attached the hype sticker, and that's what determines this different from the kind of black vinyl release. This is a coloured vinyl release. Now, just a quick note on that before I actually talk about the record itself. It's supposed to be a kind of turquoisey blue, but it's actually speckled with a little bit of black. So it's a bit of an odd kind of colour, which I like, and it looks absolutely beautiful. As for how it plays, though, I will get onto that in a minute. Now, all of these records that have come out have been pressed onto 180 gram vinyl, and the mixes themselves are cut from the original analog tapes. Now, one of my gripes with this whole thing is that, for me anyway, and again, admittedly, this is someone who's not ever really listened to the US albums, for me, one of the things that makes them famous, if you will, is the fact that they had that Dexter Dave Jr. soundscape kind of attached to them. So in my mind anyway, it would make sense for this release to come in stereo, surely, because that was a kind of a big part of what made the US albums sound so different. But we didn't. Instead, we got these mono releases, and if I'm honest, I'm always banging on about mono releases and how I wish we had more. So in a way, I don't want to complain, but in another way, I feel like a trick has been missed here, because surely it would have been better for these to be in stereo. However, having said that, this album is brilliant, and especially when you listen to side A. When you listen through side A, you can really understand why Beatlemania was such a big thing and why the Americans took to the band so comfortably. It's just hit after hit after hit. The second side is a little bit more loose. There's a couple of tracks that I think are kind of questionable in terms of why they're on there, but it's nonetheless an enjoyable listen. So Little Child, for example, never been a big fan of that song, don't understand why it's on here, because other than that, the album itself kind of seems like a bit of a hits parade. Unfortunately, the record I received, which I know is from a French printing plant, is a tiny bit warped, so there might be some quality control issues here. I didn't, however, have any problems playing it. I like to use a weight when I listen to my records. It did play all the way through, and it did sound fantastic. There's a level of freedom within the sound of this album. It's almost a little bit messy in places, and it sounds as though they're playing live for the majority of it. So obviously I'm no expert, I can't talk about what's been done in terms of the mastering, what's been done in terms of the editing, but there definitely is a distinct difference to the way this sounds in comparison to, you know, the same songs on the UK releases. In many ways, I'm actually a little bit disappointed that it's taken me this long to listen to a US Capitol album. I mean, I can certainly understand why they were such a big hit in America and why this particular album is so heralded, if you will. Now, if you're like me, you've probably had that fault where you kind of get into nostalgia and you think to yourself, wouldn't it be great if I could listen to a Beatles record for the very first time again, experience it anew? And in many ways, this actually does that. So this, from that perspective, was an absolutely brilliant buy. So final thoughts just on this release alone. Is it worth getting a singular copy of Meet the Beatles, especially the coloured vinyl edition? Well, I'm not a massive believer that it makes any difference whether your vinyl is black or it's a different colour or it's translucent. Unless it's a picture disc, which might in turn affect sound quality. I think they're very much all of the same. But it did make me reconsider what I am going to do now, because yes, I bought one of these, and my intention was always to buy this alongside the box set, therefore having 2 copies of Meet the Beatles. But do I need that? I'm not entirely sure. In terms of the box set, one of the most disappointing things for me, I thought, was the fact that it doesn't contain a book. It doesn't contain really any information other than what you get within the individual album sleeves. So really, the extra money is for that box set itself. Now, the Beatles story, however, is another story. You can only get that in the box set. But I've listened to it before and it's not that great, so I'm not entirely sure that's needed. So right now I'm in a position where I'm thinking, do I just buy these as separate individual releases? They're going to be here for a little while at least. So it might be of greater benefit for me to collect those in their individual format. But watch this space, because you know, it might turn out that I'm a little impatient and I end up purchasing the box set this time next week. So anyway, what are your thoughts? Have you managed to obtain any of these records yet? Did you buy the box set, or did you, like me, decide to go down the individual route? I'm really, really interested to hear what your experiences were so far. But as for this record, this is an absolute gem and one I will treasure in my collection. I'll see you next time.